Rally Tao family, good evening and welcome to a special presentation of Ring 'em Up. Now, it's special because we have a special birthday boy joining us tonight for a little Ring 'em Up action. So before we get the podcast started, just wanted to wish my boo bear, Mr. Bobby Slayy, a happy birthday. Love you, buddy.
It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
See Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of
Has it 2 in a row. 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has home. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach because
There we go. I'm unmuted now. Todd, can you hear me? Hello? Hello. Not sure what is going on here, chat. Having some technical difficulties right here at this very second. But good evening. Welcome to the show. I think Todd's working on getting his mic unmuted here at the moment. We'll get that worked out here in just a second. We got a ton of great things come at you with tonight. Tons of big baseball news. First and foremost, for us Reds fans here in the great state of Ohio and all around the country, we had some good news this week. Hunter Greene got extended. I believe it was 5 years and quite a bit of cash. So I don't remember the exact details on it. I did not read the article.
The Twilight Zone.
What the fuck just happened?
You look at Steph and Clay, and even Draymond with his lack of
has it 2 in a row. 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna.
What the hell is going on right now?
For the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry.
I don't know if we're live. I don't know what's going on right now. Give me a second here,
Freeze
chat.
to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy.
We might have to do one of these. Todd froze. That is exactly what happened. Okay, now it all makes sense. So I'm going to be flying solo here for a little bit. If anybody wants to hop in here. What up, Ryan? Good evening, sir. How are you today? Ryan, definitely would love your thoughts. I was just talking about it. I know we had some crazy, I don't know what happened there. We were live and then Todd said something and then we went into our intro video and then it came here. Then I was the only one talking and I don't think Todd could see me. It was pretty funny to say the least. So we'll hold it down. There he is. Mr. Gottschalk, can you hear me?
Oh, my Lord. I don't know what just happened. Yes, dude. I'm so sorry.
Dude, I am
confused. Terribly sorry. Me too, because I could hear you, but the intro video is rolling on me for, I don't know, it just took 4 minutes to get through the intro video on my side. So I sincerely apologize for the technical difficulties.
I started rolling and you were figuring it out and then the intro video picked up like midway through and played again on my end. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Right
sorry.
Dude, it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, there's
it's the last time
he's not yours, he's not property, Ryan. He is our handsome hunk of meat. Get it straight.
I need to. Sure. This might be the last time up in the spare bedroom doing the podcast. Here, we're gonna have to make the old adjustment back to downstairs after this week.
Well, I mean, just get a wireless router or something and see if you can't.
Dude, it's
Or have you tried that?
Yeah.
Tried that. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's a Chromebook. That's the difficulties of owning a Chromebook is that nothing works. But we'll give it the old college try here.
We had the old Apple Android
resolved.
conversation at work today, and needless to say, there's only 2 people in the office that have a non-Apple product.
Dude, there's not. This is a poor investment choice. Anybody thinking about getting a notebook, laptop in the future, stay away from anything that's on a Chrome operating system. You cannot use any Wi-Fi range extenders on a Chromebook.
Really?
That's a fun fact. Yeah, nothing is compatible with. And for whatever reason, Google hasn't come out with their own range extender, which would make the most sense because their operating system is not compatible with most other operating systems. But they haven't done that yet. So might have to just send the 200-foot Ethernet cable or something for next week. We'll see what we're gonna do here.
Hey, I run off Ethernets, man. I like the direct connection.
Me too, man. That's why I like usually do it downstairs.
So. All right. Well, as we were getting into lots of big news this week, first and foremost, as I was getting into the Hunter Greene extension, I think that's the biggest news for us here in Cincinnati. He got 5 years. How much money, Todd? I can't remember how much it was off the top.
It's a 6-year, $53 million contract with the last year. The last year of the contract being technically it's a player option. And obviously the money kind of progresses year over year. So it's a team friendly contract through the first 3, and then the latter 3 are pretty
tough.
Heavy on the pocketbook. So I'm very interested to see what the Reds do with that, because that could go one of 2 ways, right? If you are Cincinnati and you're saying this, the statement from the Castellini family is that they're making a statement on committing to the future of the Reds organization. But I want to see what that looks like in 3 years, if they're actually committing to Hunter Greene, or if this is hey, let's get him locked in and try to make a move later on in the future. It's hard to it's honestly hard to tell. I mean, that's the small market movement right now. But if you're a Reds fan, I think it's truly a step in the right direction. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think it's at least we're at a place where they're trying to show that they're committed to the future, right? I mean, this is a guy that I've talked about. I'm personally more of a Nick Lodolo fan, but if you're going to commit to pitching, which is what they need to commit to, this is their guy. This is the number 1 overall pick. This is the guy they've been talking about since day 1 of drafting him, and now they've given him a contract extension. So it's the natural progression of baseball.
Yeah, the one thing that terrifies me, and you brought it up, was it's very team friendly the first 3 years, and the back half is very heavily loaded. So is it team friendly for the first 3 years because they're planning on dumping him once he gets good? That's always your fear, like as a Reds fan, because they're always known for dumping top tier talent and trying to bring in a ton of guys and make a playoff push, and that never works. It's always been kind of their strategy to dump a big name at the trade deadline and bring in some talent and see if they can't, because they're always hot going into the All-Star break, and then post All-Star break trade deadline, it's like they're trying to make moves and they end up getting rid of the best people and clearing the salary cap so they can sign people in the off season, which that always happens.
That's Will Myers, Kevin Newman, Luke Weaver, and Luke Maley and Kirk Casale. Those were their free agent signings with the
big splashes.
Less than $15 million for 6 players. And look, I don't expect them, and it too. Like, I don't expect them to hand out a Justin Verlander contract, right?
No,
but
God, no.
you can't make the statement that you're committed to win, and then bring in Luke Weaver, who I believe through 4 or 5 innings to start the game has given up 4 runs in his debut with the Reds, coming off the injured list. Will Benson, Will Benson's another free agent they went out and got. There's a good chance that he ends up in Louisville in the very, very near future. I don't know if you followed it all, but he has more strikeouts than hits to start the year, kind of as we discussed.
Yeah, that's terrible.
But yeah, Cart brings up a good point here. I think we've talked about this before too, that six of the Reds' top prospects are third baseman, shortstop. It's all 6 of them. You are correct. There's Andrew Abbott's the only pitcher I think is technically sprinkled in there between 5 and 6, but everyone else is third base, shortstop. Ellie De La Cruz, Encarnacion Strand, Aveli Marte, Matt McClain. They're all middle to left side infielders. And the reasoning for that, right, is you're getting a bunch of young guys is that, these guys could easily become outfielders.
Right. Train them to play different spots.
Yes, but it's not that easy, right? It's not as simple as telling an Ellie De La Cruz, like, we don't have a spot for you at third base right now, but we can put you in the field, so why don't you go down and play left field? And then you're putting an inexperienced outfielder into a position where they don't have any anchors in the outfield. Right, they don't have anybody that's in their natural position, who's played that position their entire career. So then you're setting up your outfield to be defensively weaker to maybe improve offense. And the way the game works right now, with the shift rule being in existence, like, it doesn't matter, right? Guys are getting there's more hits into the quarter outfield and between left center and right center, so it doesn't matter, and you're giving up runs by putting somebody who isn't comfortable in the position doing that too. So this is just like I said, I think the Hunter Greene move as a whole, it's a positive move for Cincinnati, but I need to see Tyler Stevenson, Jonathan India
commitment, big commitment.
Yeah, I need to see one of those 2 guys also get an extension this year, preferably Tyler Stevenson. If I get to pick somebody that
I think he's got the biggest upside for sure.
I'd like to see Tyler Stevenson. Yeah, well, he's a guy that I think he's a 30-30 guy. I think Jonathan India has a lot of really great ability, but the ROI for a guy like Jonathan India is pretty high for trading. Because I'm assuming that's what happens with one of the 2 of them. They end up getting traded. So it's an interesting move for the Reds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, next big news in baseball: the Sin City A's.
I do like that. It does
have
a ring to it. Does have a ring to it. It does
have a little something to that.
Yeah, two former professional sports franchises that were previously located in Oakland will now both be located in the wonderful city of Las Vegas. Sad day for Oakland.
This is it. So I think the thing about Oakland that's always been really cool is that it's a historic franchise, right? It starts out as the Philadelphia A's, then they move to the West Coast. Then you're talking about those 80s and 90s teams of Oakland, then Billy Beanball, and they've kind of just turned into the laughing stock of Major League Baseball. They're averaging less than 7,500. Yeah. Hudson, Zito, Mark Mulder. That trio was Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz all over again. Yeah. But Oakland's become the laughing stock of Major League. Look at how little tickets they're selling. I believe the most tickets they've sold doesn't even hit 10,000 this year. The city's given up on the organization too. And, let's just call a spade a spade. Oakland's just not a great area anymore. It's a bad community. And Golden State saw the Warriors specifically saw the writing on the wall first and said, all right, well, I'm moving out of Oakland. Let's go to the Bay Area, build a brand new, very nice arena in the Bay Area. The Davis family with the Raiders said, Oakland doesn't want us to build a new stadium. But Vegas said, hey, build your new stadium here. We'd love to have a professional football team here. And it's just the same thing with baseball. For Las Vegas, it's like a quintuple win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're getting,
it makes the city way more attractive to come to because now there's more to do than just gambling.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. I mean, if you time up the season right, you can catch hockey and baseball in the same week, right? Or you can catch baseball and baseball and football in the same week. So there's something to that. I mean, it's not just especially with kind of the incidences that have happened on the Vegas Strip over the last few years, it creates additional tourism for them. And
Right.
really the unfortunate thing for Oakland is that it becomes like a true desolate city with two large empty infrastructures now. We've seen it, right? I mean, living in Columbus, you drive by Cooper Stadium going down 315 up to 71, and you see this big empty baseball stadium that's completely overgrown. And it's depressing. In the area around the empty stadium is depressing. And the same thing's going to happen to Oakland. And there's a lot of athletics fans that are upset about it too, right? Like, think about those teams of the 80s and 90s with McGuire and Canseco and Ricky Henderson, David Henderson, Dave Parker, Dave Stewart. Like, there's just so many good names that went through that. Tony La Russa was the manager of those teams, right? That's a World
Doing
Series
Magic Coke off steroid needles.
Yeah, I mean, it's Canseco. Oh boy! If for anybody listening, if you've never read Jose Canseco's book, please do so. It's wild. I think it probably about 30% of what's in the book is true, but just enough of what is in there that I think is true. It's wild. They did wild shit in that clubhouse in Oakland. But
I think we all want steroids.
Yeah, it's just sad, man. It makes me sad because baseball is such a historical sport, and you're taking a big part of history and you're moving it in.
Yeah. And
I think it's just the sign. I think you could look at it two ways. I think it's in one way you're kind of you're closing the book on one, a chapter of Oakland. But I think to me, moving to Vegas means that the expansion of league baseball is going to happen very soon too. And that's cut that you can go to Nashville and Salt Lake City, and you can readjust the entire Major League Baseball and turn it into, instead of having 3 divisions in the American League and National League, you can have an East and a West, and you can see all new teams. You can see players you've never thought you'd get to see before, have to travel to. So I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Next year, who knows where the A's are going to play? I'd love to see the A's kind of do like a Savannah Bananas tour and just hit a bunch of stadiums around the country and just play for more fans than they're playing for now, right? I mean, they're only playing for 3,500 people now. They can sell out a AA or AAA stadium and make it fun. But we're looking at, in the next 5 years, expansions and probably just complete overhaul of how divisions are made up in baseball because of this move. So I think it's a move in the right direction to get more fans and seats.
Yeah, I mean, and expect some longer term fans of some shitty organizations to pick up a expansion team, franchise team, and just become a loyal fan to them and just change their allegiances. It's going to happen. It happens whenever there's franchise teams that expand. And good. I mean, Lord knows I love the Reds, but goddamn, if they don't pull it together in the next 5 years, I could be looking.
Right now you got
they had their lowest attendance
away.
in 20 years. Just a couple nights ago, they had under 8,000 people in the stadium. Under 8,000 people.
What do you think the reasoning is behind that? It's pretty clear. They suck, and the organization hasn't committed to the fans. So there's a lot of people that have said the same thing that you and I like. I'm not giving money to the Castellini family. My nephew plays at Great American Ballpark in a high school baseball game on May 13th, and the only way I can go is if I buy tickets to a game.
Ooh.
And I have to think about, I want to see him play, and it's for a game that I wouldn't be able to make. It's on a Tuesday night, and it's like I'll just get nosebleed seats, and I'll just pay the $20 for 2 tickets to go see him play at Great American, because who knows if we'll play there.
And then go sit in the first row, third baseline, because nobody's going to fucking be there.
Right. But right. I could just come down, take a half day at work, drive down, and be back in the Honda Odyssey by 10:30 and back in Columbus by midnight. The way the games have been going so far, but it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I hope that the Hunter Greene extension does give fans
it gives us
a reason to go back a little bit. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not fully committed to anything until I see Jonathan India or Tyler Stevenson's name in a headline with contract extension and Jeff Passan being the source. That's when I'll start being excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. Carp coming in with a comment here said, "Imagine the roid rage when you get out because of the pitch clock. If
I
they
gave
brought
a
steroids back, that's hilarious."
Let me give you a scenario, Carp, that I gave somebody and I was really disappointed that the individual didn't know this. I said, imagine if Ken Caminiti was playing in today's game and he got called out on a pitch clock violation.
He'd kill somebody.
He would shatter a million baseball bats. A million of them.
I think he would just take the bat and hit the umpire over the head with it. Like I don't know if he can control himself.
It would be pure chaos if that dude got strike 3, game over. Somebody's on third base. They're down 1. Caminiti, it's three. It's Case King Leonidas. It's 300. He's jumping in the air and stabbing somebody with a broken baseball.
This
it would be
is
absolutely
baseball.
Yeah, it would be. I've used that analogy, and the guy at work was like, "Who's Ken Caminiti?" And I was like, "Oh God, that hurts my heart." I had to show him the old footage of Ken Caminiti and the Padres orange and blue when he went from I think it was like 97 to 98 or 98 to 99. And he went from being like average size to just being like Mark McGwire sized. And you're like, what the fuck happened?
It's called juice,
he was
baby.
huge. He was huge. I mean, unfortunately, it killed him, but he died of a massive coronary collapse due to abusing steroids even after he retired from baseball. He continued to try to look like, after baseball, it was, all right, I'm going to hit home runs. Now I'm going to look like Rich Piana and be as big as I possibly can. And just the old ticker couldn't take care of it. But
well, yeah, I mean, once you get
I'm
your heart struggles to keep up with the body weight.
Well, especially if your testosterone hits the thousands level, and you're not supposed to quite be there. So, which is where most of those guys fall once, and then you cycle around. But all right, man. I think next big thing in baseball.
Third item. So we got blessed by the baseball guys this week with lots of good news, or not good news necessarily, but lots of interesting news to say the least. Yeah, umpire with great name, by the way, Phil Cousy. Great name. He has been responsible for all 3 ejections due to a unknown substance found on a pitching glove or their person. Interesting. Coincidence?
I think not, sir. I think not. So let me give you I'll give the rundown of how Max Scherzer ended up at ejection. So at the end of the second inning, he's coming off the bump, heading to the dugout, and Cousy stops him and says, "Your hand looks really dark. Wash your hand with rubbing alcohol." So then the next step is an MLB official goes into the dugout with Scherzer. He uses rubbing alcohol, cleans his hands up, blah, blah, blah. Okay, good to go now? Great. And then coming out of the third inning, Cousy says, "Your glove looks sticky." And Max is like, "It's rosin and sweat, bro. Rosin and sweat." It swears up and down, rosin and sweat. And he's checking Scherzer's hands, and you see Scherzer's hands, and his right hand is not dark, but you can see where when he comes off the mound and he throws the rosin bag in, he's rubbing his hands and he's rubbing the ball into the glove. So I could see where the cue starts, like, oh, we need to check the glove, right? So then Scherzer says, "All right, well, I'll clean the glove." So he cleans the glove. Fourth inning rolls around. Cousy says, "Hands dirty again. You're done." Never solidified what the foreign substance was. And my understanding of the rule, and maybe I'm wrong, was that if a player is to be ejected for a foreign substance on their hand, that they're supposed to test for this. They're supposed to extract the substance from his hand and test for it after the game to determine what the substance was. I thought that was a part of this whole thing so that they could alleviate the issue being in the future, and none of that happened.
Right. He
just got suspended 10 games. Same thing happened to Caleb Smith last year in Arizona, and the same thing happened to the pitcher from Seattle. I believe his last name was Santiago. All pretty much identical instances. Check the hand, glove, back to hand, boom, done. So
interesting.
It's very interesting. Yeah, it's one of those scenarios where it does make you scratch your head a little bit, where you're like, what's the what's the move here, right? For this umpire, why is he the only person
Right. 'Cause,
in
I mean,
the thousands of games? I mean, it's over 1,000. Let me. It should be over 1,000 games at this point that have been played since this rule has been implemented. Right, you're talking about 30 teams playing 100. I believe it's like 145 games after the rule was implemented last year, and then to this season. So you're well over 1,000 games, and only one guy has been the one to find like a foreign substance on a glove and determine that it's impacting the game. It just feels funny. It feels very funny.
Yeah. No, it for it to be the same guy. And the fact that it's only happened 3 times is still to me that's shocking as well, because these guys are going to find every way to get every advantage and hide it.
Right.
There's still guys that take the mound daily that are still using certain things to have an advantage, increase that spin rate. Everybody's going to try to get an advantage so they get caught.
For sure.
Most, and but
I don't know, man. Like. Something's off about it, right? That's where I'm at. Like it just feels off
weird.
that
it's weird that it's the same guy.
And for him to be a crew chief, Bruce Carp, thanks for liking the stream. Appreciate you, boys. But for him to be the crew chief too, and making these, I don't know. Corey liking the stream. What's up, Bubba? Appreciate you stopping in. We're just talking about Max Scherzer with them foreign substances on his palm and his hand. It just feels off to me that, Phil Cousy's the only one. My understanding of this rule change as well was that there was going to be post-game investigations that Major League Baseball was to release. I have not seen anything yet. I haven't seen even conversation of an investigation yet. Haven't seen anything from Adam Smith last year in the investigation of that. So I think it's just a question to Major League Baseball that why, if they're doing the check, right? If they're doing this check on people that they feel are using a foreign substance and they're not explaining what the foreign substance is or how it impacts the game itself, then what's the point of doing it?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if the batters, can use pine tar, why can't the pitchers?
Look, I think at the end of the day, you said it. People are still using shit to get a competitive edge, right? I mean, there's no such thing as too much sweat to rub into, or not to rub in a baseball too much, or rubbing in the dirt using a rosin bag or whatever. There's still stuff out there that you can use that impacts the movement of the ball itself, and for them to just release nothing from it just feels off. Like I don't like the idea that there's a rule change and then there's no statistics behind the rule change on why it needs to happen.
Yeah. I mean,
Garrett Cole hasn't slowed down at all, right? He was kind of the centerpiece of this, remember? And nothing's changed for him at all. In fact, he's averaging more Ks per 9, or he's averaged the same or more Ks per 9 during his starts over the last year.
He might have gotten better
early season than he did before. So the old Fremunda cheese, Carp says that's what he used. There's nothing better than getting into the bottom of the 7th inning in a high school baseball game or a summer ball game and at the end of July and just digging into your ass crack and, get going for we call that the outlier. I believe that's the outlier. That's what that pitch is, because you just don't know what's going to happen.
Did you guys ever not shower the day prior just to get some extra funk down there?
You know what's crazy, man?
As my mom comes in the chat. Hello, Mom. Thank you.
It's crazy, man, because baseball it's the most superstitious sport there is, right? So everybody has their shtick. So even when I played, if I pitched, I wore the same undershirt. Right. And if I won, the undershirt just goes back in the bag, right? It doesn't go in the laundry because you don't want to waste what's going on with the undershirt. No, right?
Some good juices flowing there.
And I went an entire summer, the summer of our junior year of high school, where I think that shirt got washed maybe one time.
That's disgusting.
Maybe twice. But I'm sure. Yeah, it smelled awful. Did I smell bad? Absolutely. But did I go out there and pitch well? I also pitched very well while wearing this shirt. So there was a correlation in my mind. But yes, there's definitely some times where you catch somebody in the dugout and you walk by him and you're like, ooh, that's a man that's wearing something that has not seen a laundry room in quite some time. See, Carp's got it too. See, my left sock had to be inside out because I threw a no when I was 12. Dude, it's the same thing. I always put my left cleat on before my right cleat every time, every day. I did the same, like 18 to 25 bullpen before the game too, with the same amount of pitches. If the first pitch wasn't a strike, it was 25. If the first pitch was a strike, it was 18. It's just the way that it works.
I love that. I mean, I'm still superstitious in my day to day. So
absolutely, me too.
There's things that I'll do. I'm like, I just have to do it. I do a lot of things in twos for just some reason. Like I do a lot of things in twos, like stuff like when I'm like, even when I'm buying like shredded cheese, like I buy it in twos.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that works? I mean, even like now I've taken that into strength training where I listen to the same song at the beginning of every workout. And I've been doing that for 2 years.
Mom coming in the comments said never changed our socks in the softball tournament as long as we were winning. Hey, it runs in the veins.
That's it. It's the same reason you don't change this for baseball. You never change the sliding shorts if your team's winning in a tournament. You don't change the sliding shorts. No. Never, even if there's a fire. Those things stay dirty. I remember. I can remember, and if my mom's listening, I don't know if she's listening now, but she always usually tries to listen back. There was a tournament that we played in when I was like 13, maybe 14, and we made it to the finals. And it was after the 4th of July in Michigan, which is equally as humid as Ohio, and shorts did not there the whole weekend, third day.
We lost you
and
there
I just
for a second.
Remember my mom did. Oh, sorry. I wore the same sliding shorts from Thursday to Sunday. I remember my mom the last day in the hotel room saying, "I'm glad this tournament's over." I'll never forget that.
Good old Della.
Oh, she's a sweetheart. I appreciate her for putting up with me for so long.
Well,
all right.
One thing I did want to ask you about real quick. I don't know if you've heard this. It's something they're testing out in I think it's single A. It's called the double hook rule. Have you heard about this?
The double hook rule. That's right. It's the old that's the high school baseball rule. If a pitcher doesn't make it past the sixth inning.
The double hook or the DH rule allows teams to use the DH throughout the game as long as the starting pitcher pitches 5+ innings. If the starter does not pitch 5+ innings, the team will lose its DH and a pitcher will bat for the rest of the game in the DH spot.
Yeah. So that includes a pinch hitter too, right? Like you can obviously you can bring in a pinch hitter, but I don't. It's baseball. I mean, baseball used to do that before. I like it.
I thought it was interesting. I like it.
I think it makes things saucy. It creates additional strategy.
Yeah, it rewards you for good pitching.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've seen a lot, and I think baseball is starting to see a lot of. It's going to alleviate the opener rule, right? We've seen that where you start a bullpen guy and then you throw 5 to 7 pitchers during the course of a game. Or, if you're in an organization where a pitcher doesn't really no starting or very limited starting pitchers making it past the 5th inning, it makes additional strategy through the latter part of the game. I think we'll see it. We'll see it in baseball. We'll see it in Major League Baseball. It'll come around in the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think and also this is another one of those things that I think increases pace of play. Obviously having pitchers get up there that most can't hit. Most are not very, skilled at it. That's just going to make another quick out. So it's only going to speed things up if they actually put this into play and it does happen to a team. So I just thought that was interesting. Figured I'd toss that little snippet in there. All right. Well, are we on to the big stuff here? Our favorite teams growing up.
Let's do it.
Our favorite roster. So not necessarily teams, but just players.
Yeah. So parameters of this that Bobby and I set for one another was that we were gonna pick 3 teams that we either that we liked or that we were interested in, that we watched, whatever, and then kind of talk about, we drafted. Bobby was kind enough to allow me to make the first pick, but we drafted 3 rosters that we really liked.
I was very nice to you.
You were.
I gave you 2.
You were
2 good ones.
You did. Yeah, you gave me a couple cupcakes, so I really appreciate that, man. But why don't you lead us off, man? Who are you going to start with?
Yeah, Carp. Yes, I did preface that statement. Carp says, "Shut up, Bobby. Pitchers drop bombs." I said most pitchers can't hit, not all. Not all.
Carp, be careful, buddy. You and I both know what our career batting averages were. High school, not summer ball. Exclude summer ball. That's different. You get a lot of cookies in summer ball.
So first team I want to start with. I actually made a last minute adjustment to my lineup here. If anybody saw the thumbnail for tonight's show, it was kind of a little preview of what we'd be talking about, but I made a change. I'm gonna save that team. Actually, no, we'll just go ahead and start with the team I made a change for. Originally had the 75 Reds, and I'm sitting here thinking I didn't really watch them a ton growing up. So I switched it to a team that I guess we were all kind of forced to watch because they were always winning, but they had a great roster, and that's the 99 Yankees. It's a classic. It's a classic roster, man. Obviously, you had Mariano Rivera, which you got to love him. My favorite player on that roster was Jorge Posada. I was a catcher by trade. I liked watching him play. I think he had a really, really great approach to the game. One
of the best switch hitters of all time.
Yes. I can never do it. I tried to switch hit and I just couldn't. I could hit. I had no power left-handed. It was more like the leadoff for a softball team, just slapping and running from the left side of the plate. But I always hit for average anyway. I never hit for power because I just didn't have it. But this was a stacked team, man. This was actually Roger Clemens' first season with the Yankees. He had been traded in the offseason from the Expos to the Yankees in 1999. Then they just happened to win a World Series his first season there. I thought that was pretty cool. I actually found that one out today. And then obviously you got Darryl Strawberry on this team as well. He did exist.
He made it to 1999.
He made it to 1999.
Holy
he was on the roster. Yeah, he didn't really play that season. He was just banging chicks in the hallway of the what do you call it? Was that Henderson that did that? It was him or Strawberry. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh yeah. That was Darryl Strawberry.
That was Darryl Strawberry.
That was when him and Doc Gooden were on the Mets. That was a totally different time of baseball.
Different era. This was the 80s.
I think Darryl Strawberry had even sobered up by then.
He might have
by the 90s to play because he lost some years for some issue off the field. Well, I don't know if you call it not on the field issues, sometimes in the dugout issues. Yeah, him and Doc Gooden. That's a great 30 for 30 if you've never watched it, by the way.
Yeah. But yeah, you had Paul O'Neill on this roster just recently coming over from the Reds. Just sucked to lose that guy. But top to bottom.
He's a Yankee Hall of Famer.
And obviously DJ. Derek Jeter, one of the best shortstops to ever grace a baseball field. So This was a stacked team. Had a lot of good talent. We had to watch a lot of them in the late 90s, early 2000s because they won often. They did win the World Series this year, 1999. They won 1999 and 2000, and then did they three-peat in 2001? No, that was the Diamondbacks that won in 01.
Yeah.
No, they won 98 and 99. I don't think maybe it was 98 to 2000. I can't remember. I'm not a big Yankees fan. I just really liked this roster. Mainly because the Rocket. Obviously Roger Clemens and Mariano Rivera. Actually the winningest pitcher, I was actually looking at this, was Orlando Hernandez. He led that team with 17 victories. El Duque.
Great story. It's a great story in baseball. El Duque is.
Hell yeah. But no, that was the first one. I wanted to, kind of switch gears because, don't get me wrong, we could talk about the 75 Reds a lot, but I didn't get to actually physically watch them play live. So this was a good one for me at least. And sucked that it had to be the Yankees, but they, it was a lot of great talent on that team.
There was, man. That's a good open for this beautiful segment of all-time favorite rosters. I'm going to kick it back just a couple years earlier. We're going to talk about the 1995 season, the strikes shortened 1995 season. We're going to talk about the Atlanta Braves. World Series champion Atlanta Braves. They can't say that any other time in the 90s, unfortunately, because of the Yankees. But did win the World Series 95 in the shortened year, beat the Rockies in the NLDS. That was the Larry Walker, Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga Rockies. So that's not too shabby of an offense out there in Denver. Then actually swept the Cincinnati Reds in the NL Championship Series 4-0. And then beat another team that I really liked in the 90s that I almost picked, but I went this route. They picked the Cleveland Indians.
Yep.
Mid-90s. That's a roster I think that you and I have spent a lot of time there, or that area of the Indians. We spent a lot of time talking about them early on in this show. But I'm just going to give you the lineup here that Atlanta threw out for the majority of the season. We'll call this the end of season roster. Catcher was Javi Lopez. First base, the crime dog, Fred McGriff.
Love it.
Second baseman, Mark Lemke, career plus almost 990 fielding percentage second baseman. Shortstop was Jeff Blauser, who they had just received from the Chicago Cubs. Third baseman was rookie Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones.
Rookie in 95. Wow.
Rookie in 1995. He was 23 years old. I'll give you some quick stats on Chipper here. We talked about switch. We talked about the switch hitting catcher Jorge Posada being one of the best. This is the best switch hitter of all time in Chipper Jones. And his rookie year hitting 265, 23 home runs, 86 RBIs with an 803 OPS. Not too shabby for your first year in the big leagues. Then the outfield. The outfield was Ryan Klesko. That's just a
Klesko. Wow.
Beautiful name. Beautiful 90s name drop for baseball.
What a drop. I
actually think about Ryan Klesko in a Padres uniform more than I do in a Braves uniform, but he was on these he was also very young on these Braves teams.
Forgot about him.
Center fielder was Speed Demon Marquise Grissom. Led the league in stolen bases was second in stolen bases that year in 1995. And rounding out the outfield was Cincinnati native David Justice. Right. So that lineup put together in 1995, they put together 168 home runs, 620 runs batted in, and a team batting average of 256.
Wow.
So big offensive numbers from the Braves, and then you get to the rotation of the Atlanta Braves, and arguably we talked about a great trio and Hudson, Smolder, and Zito, arguably the best trio of starting pitchers in the history of the game. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz. All three guys that have their
their own style.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, too, because you look at all three of those guys individually, and they were each super unique in their own way. Obviously, Greg Maddux, we've talked about him extensively. He's the most precise pitcher that we've seen play, right? There's been other pitchers that have done it in history, but he's the most precise pitcher that I believe our generation ever watched. And then Tom Glavine was really first pitcher to ever throw a ball, and I introduced it into. Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, we lost you there for a minute.
And you wrap it up with. Okay. Man.
So we lost.
Then you wrap it up with John Smoltz. Right. So you're talking about. Okay. Thank you. Sorry about the internet, man. It's just a rough evening for AT&T in Columbus,
Ohio.
You're fine. So what's going on here?
Carp, yeah. Andrew Jones' son is an absolute stud. He's gonna be Bruce. Like I knew Todd was a robot.
Yeah, dude, it's
It
rough.
did,
This
it
is
did
rough.
sound like a robot.
This is the most it's the most technical difficult I've had in quite some time on the show. But
Okay,
Tom Glavine introduced the cutter into baseball, and then John Smoltz was, at one point in time one of the hardest throwing starting pitchers in baseball. So the three of those guys ate up. Let me just give you innings pitched between the three of them. So Maddox threw 210 innings, Glavine threw 199, and Smoltz threw 192.
Wow.
That's wild. It's wild to throw out that basically three starters in a 5-man rotation threw for 200 innings. And then rounding out the rotation, Steve Avery, Kent Merker, two guys. But it doesn't, you could say anybody on the back end of this rotation. It doesn't matter. They're still good. They won, but between the three of them, they had 50 of their 90 wins.
Wow.
And by the way, Greg Maddux that year went 19-2.
Crazy. I mean, that was just, there's a beautiful team to watch. I mean, I don't know how many times I catch myself just watching a Greg Maddux highlight reel, just watching that man just paint the corners and just throw two seams that had 18 inches of run for no reason and just landed like right where he wanted it. Just, beautiful.
He did say he knew where he was throwing. He knew where he was throwing every single pitch.
I believe it.
It's wild. It's wild to make a statement like that, but for him, I do too. I believe that he knew exactly where he was throwing every pitch by the time that he had hit his stride in his career.
Yeah, he knew where it was going to be before it left his hand. Crazy. You want to hear a fun fact that I heard today?
Hit me.
This is completely off topic. Do you know who received the first American Express black card?
No.
So they obviously they used to not be a thing, and there was some clip that I saw. Jerry Seinfeld was the first person to ever receive an American Express black card, and it's because he heard
Makes
a rumor of one of three people in the world having a black card. One of them was the president of American Express, and he was doing ads for him. So he called him up personally and said, "Hey, I want one of those black cards." He's like, "They don't exist," and then they made them just for him, and he got the first one. So I thought that was crazy. I didn't know he had leverage like that, but I guess back in the 80s and 90s he had that kind of pull. So
he was probably one of the biggest names in the world in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Seinfeld's one of the most popular shows of all time.
Never watched it. Start to finish, I've never watched it. I've seen episodes, but I've never watched it like all the way through.
Oh my Lord.
I guess
do yourself a favor. Turn on Netflix and watch it, dude. Larry David is a genius. If you haven't watched that, watch and also watch Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO.
Okay. Carp says it's terrible. Actually terrible.
Well, sorry, Carp, you're wrong. Everybody's entitled to opinion. Sometimes your opinion is just wrong.
I guess I'll just have to watch it and judge for myself.
Yeah, that is a love or hate show for sure. It's like Friends. You either love the show or you hate it.
Yeah, Friends is whatever. I can do without it. All right.
I intentionally do without
it. All right, on to my next team. Moving up 5 years into the future for this one. Some fans waited quite a while for this thing to come around, but this is 04 Red Sox. And I think the 04 Red Sox, obviously they broke the curse of the Bambino.
The curse of the Bambino broke it.
Down 0-3 to come back and win the series and then go on to win the World Series. I don't know if it gets better than that. I mean, you think you're down and out. That's like when the Cavs were down 0-3 in the finals and come back and win the entire series.
Yeah.
Or just
3-1.
Insane, dude. 3-1, whatever. Yeah, they were down 3-1, not 3-0, but
yep. Hit me with that 04 roster, baby. I'm ready to hear some names.
Okay, here we go. Do you want the rotation or the lineup first?
Give me the rotation first, because I'm going to hear a name that's going to give me goosebumps out of this. I know I am.
Right. Kurt Schilling led the way. 20-game winner.
Bloody sock Kurt.
Do you know who the other 20-game winner that season was? And it was not with the Red Sox. There's only one other person in the league that did it.
Ooh, what team? Does that give it away?
Yeah, Twins.
Carlos Santana? No.
Johan
Santana?
Johan Santana.
Carlos Santana's the guitarist.
Correct. Yes, he unless he was planning on hitting a sweet riff there, I don't think he was going to be striking anybody out. But yeah, so you got Kurt Schilling, obviously, bloody sock moment. That was the most iconic thing in his career, I believe. Then you got Pedro Martinez following him up. The knuckleballer Tim Wakefield. You had Derek Lowe, and then what up, Justin? Appreciate it, man. And then last but not least, Sir Bronson Arroyo, the king of what do you call that? I just had the word for it.
The king of the Queen City.
The king of the Queen City. I was gonna say the king of not the hippies, but like the hipsters. King of the hipsters. I think he fit the bill there. But
did you look up a picture of Bronson Arroyo in 2004?
I did not.
That boy had cornrows.
Should I?
Look it up right now. He had cornrows for the Red Sox in 2004. Yeah, look it up.
Get out of here.
Look it up.
All right, I'm typing it. I'm typing it in the Google machine right now.
Bronson Arroyo cornrows. Look it up. Your mind will be blown. It's hilarious.
He looks like Young Gravy, or Young Gravy looks like him. One way or the other. Like if you put those things side by side, that is Young Gravy on the pitching mound with cornrows.
It is.
Maybe he was reincarnated.
What a rotation!
Now he's a rapper.
My goosebump pitcher in that rotation was Derek Lowe, by the way.
Oh yeah, Derek Lowe, dude. He was like
one of the best.
I think was that his that wasn't his rookie season, was it? I think it was.
No.
Let me pull it
I don't think so. He's one of the best sinker ball pitchers of all time.
No, that was not his rookie deal, but yeah, he was kind of like at his peak.
The amount of pitching 90.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine just having to go up against that road. I mean, literally, like World Series, like you're walking in and you have to like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 go against those 5 guys. I mean, I'm least scared of Bronson Arroyo, but I mean, Arroyo was still a decent pitcher at that point in time. When he was with Boston, but I mean, Schilling to Lowe, I mean, it was just you had everything. You had everything that you needed. The only left-handed pitcher in that entire pitching staff was Alan Embry, reliever. Everybody else was right-handed. Everybody else was right-handed that threw for Boston. So that's a fun fact for you. Now, as far as the lineup,
hit me with that roster.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, catcher Jason Varitek. I gravitate towards these guys. I love Varitek. First base Kevin Millar. Second, Mark Bellhorn. Shortstop was split between Pokey Reese and Orlando Cabrera throughout the season. Third base, Kevin Youkilis.
Yep.
Left field, Manny Ram. Easy.
Cincinnati native Kevin Youkilis.
Yeah, Cincinnati native Kevin Uke. Manny Ramirez in left field, Johnny Damon in center, and a mix between Gabe Kapler and Trot Nixon in right field. On average, that was their roster throughout the season. Obviously,
Nixon, that's what I was waiting to say, baby.
And then obviously, Big Papi himself, David Ortiz. So at the designated hitter position. So I mean, top to bottom. I mean, I think my favorite name on this roster that I forgot about was Pokey Reese. I forgot that he was on
Got
this
himself a
World
ring.
Series roster, and he got himself a ring. I loved Pokey Reese in Cincinnati. He was kind of like Brandon Phillips before Brandon Phillips. He had a ton of swagger at
Dude, he
second.
was-
Always had his hat a little
glove was
cockeyed
so
like
smooth.
that. Yeah, he was
Yeah. Dude, the
just
glove was
butter,
so smooth. Yeah.
butter out there at second. But no, yeah, Trot Nixon, dude hit bombs, just absolute nukes.
Yeah.
Him and Ramirez and Ortiz. I mean, this whole lineup, dude, this was a ton of fun looking at. And I forgot that Nomar got traded to Chicago before the season started. So
That's how they got Mark Bellhorn.
Yeah, a dude that got it done for them for a long time didn't even end up getting a ring with them. I thought that was that sucked. Sucked for Nomar.
I don't know if he ever got
that.
one.
He didn't.
I don't think Nomar ever got a World Series ring because he went to the Dodgers after that, and the Dodgers weren't making the World Series by then.
Yep. No,
That's so crazy.
If you would have asked me today
Another
if Nomar had a ring and you put a gun to my head, I probably would have said yes, because I would have thought he was on that.
You just assumed that he was on those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just assume he was on those teams because he was on the pre-Kurt Schilling. There's the Pedro, and it was him and Pedro, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, he had to have gotten a ring then, but he was gone, and that's when that was Orlando Cabrera's rookie year too, I believe, or maybe his second year. He had been in the league for maybe a little bit, but yeah, they didn't. I mean, their middle infield, like Pokey's, he is what he is. He's more of a defensive guy, but that lineup, there was so much power in the outfield, and Johnny Damon was not a slouch at the dish for power. That dude could hit.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the. I mean, Trot Nixon was a 25 guy. Manny Ramirez was what he was. Johnny Damon was 15 to 20, and then you get Big Papi being, the Hall of Famer that he is. But
absolutely,
big lineup top to bottom. I love it. Kevin Millar also not a slouch either with the.
No, I was trying. It was somebody's first season in freaking on this team, and I can't remember who it was. Whatever. It's over now. But yes, overall, what a team.
Like it.
It was just. I mean, obviously we watched history that year, and something we hadn't seen in 100 years, and they just happened to have a fantastic team going into it. That pitching staff, dude, just absolutely unbelievable. So
nasty.
They had to be mentioned. So, all right, who you got next,
brother? I got the introduction to the kid, where Mr. Ken Griffey Jr. became who he was in Major League Baseball. I have the 1997 Seattle Mariners. I'm just going to give Ken Griffey Jr.'s stat line here first because I think that this is one of the best offensive seasons in the history of baseball. 704 plate appearances, 185 hits, 34 doubles, 56 home runs, 147 RBIs, 0.04 batting average, OPS of 1.028.
Can you run that back?
OPS of 1.028. It's a top 10 all-time best single season performances of OPS since they've introduced this back into baseball. Or introduced this statistic into baseball. One of the best offensive seasons of all time. This is where the Griffey brand was created from after him winning the AL MVP from this year. The Griffey brand was released by Nike in 1999. This was it. This was the first time in the history of baseball that, or really in professional sports besides Michael Jordan, somebody had a logo, right?
Yeah.
That a brand, right? Jerry West obviously is the logo of the NBA, but
with a brand behind it.
Yeah, it's the first time in baseball someone had a brand, and it's stuck today. You can still buy Griffey's. They still re-release the sneakers. They still release the cleats. They still release the gloves. Like, this is the introduction to the kid. I think that was the centerpiece around me picking this team, because I think that this is an important moment in baseball that happened that should never be forgotten. And obviously the rest of this lineup's no slouch. So I'm going to give you top to bottom again. Catcher is Dan Wilson. Really bang for his buck in Seattle there. First baseman was Paul Sorrento, who actually went to Tampa Bay the following year for their expansion season as their first baseman. Fun fact there. Second baseman, Joey Cora, brother of Alex Cora.
Yep.
Nearly as big of a piece of shit as Alex Cora. Shortstop, a 21-year-old Alex Rodriguez. This was really our kind of introduction.
The billions.
Yeah, this was A-Rod's second All-Star year. The year prior was his 50-30 season where he hit like 50-something doubles, 35 home runs, hit like almost 360, some crazy number that he had. I can't remember off the top of my head. Third baseman was Russ Davis. And then your outfield. This is where the outfield gets spicy, caliente. If there were peppers, I'd throw peppers on the screen here. Center fielder, obviously, being Ken Griffey Jr. Right field, the Kentucky legend himself, Mr. Jay Buhner. Just let that name sit and ferment in your body for a second. Ken Griffey Jr. said that Jay Buhner was the best outfielder on those teams that didn't get any credit. He said Jay Buhner was a better outfielder, he was a better hitter, and he was a better teammate than he was.
Wow.
And here's another fact. Jay Buhner is the godfather of Ken Griffey's first son. Ken Griffey Jr.'s first son. If that gives you any idea of what their chemistry was in the outfield. Left fielder was Rich Amaral. Remember him? Me either. And no. DH, a Hall of Famer as well, Mr. Edgar Martinez.
Was Olerud on this team at that point? Or was he retired already?
No, John Olerud was not retired. So I thought I went into this thinking that it was either John Olerud or David Segui was the first baseman for this team, because I thought I learned something about myself this week. I thought that Tampa Bay and the Diamondbacks were expansion teams in 1997, but they weren't. It's 1998. So I assumed, because I knew Paul Sorrento from playing triple play baseball so much as a young kid, I knew that Paul Sorrento was the first baseman for those teams. At this point, right? I know, makes you laugh. No, so John Olerud was actually on the Mets in the late 90s. He went to the Mariners in 2000. But right. I also was very quick to assume that he was the first baseman for this team, because you just think of John Olerud with the Mariners. I don't know what you want to call that. Kind of like the coach's hat, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a fun fact about John Olerud is that there is an award in college baseball named after him. And it is for the best two-way player in baseball. Wow. Because John Olerud was not only one of the best hitters in college baseball, he was also one of the top pitchers in college baseball when he was at Washington State. It's a fun fact about John Olerud.
I would have not known that until now. So that's a nice fun fact there. Love it.
Yes, thank you. I like sharing that John Olerud fact, because I think that he is only known for the helmet. He should be known for his career as well. He's a great contact hitter at a time where first basemen were just nothing but power. So he was the guy. Him and Sean Casey were the two guys that I looked at a lot as a left-handed hitter.
Sean Casey and Mark Grace.
Yeah, those were the guys that I looked to, right? Because I was a left-handed hitter as well, and those guys were contact hitters. And much like you, until I got older, I was I could only hit for contact. I had zero power because I didn't know how to use my body until I got into high school, and I just swung as hard as I could. But top of the rotation for these Mariners, believe it or not, Randy Johnson was not the opening day starter. Wow. Opening day starter for the Seattle Mariners in 1997 was Jeff Facero.
Wow.
Yep. And what if I told you that Randy Johnson was 33 in 1997? Would you believe that? Because he was.
Are you serious?
Yes. Here I'm gonna blow your mind just a little bit more. The third starter in this. Yep. Just wait. It's gonna get a little saucier for you here. So Randy Johnson was 33. The third person in the rotation is Jamie Moyer, who was 34. Jamie Moyer was only a year older than Randy Johnson, and I thought Jamie Moyer was 100. So this is what I'm getting to here. So when Randy Johnson was winning World Series, winning his World Series with the Diamondbacks and throwing he threw the perfect game against the Braves. He was almost 40.
Wait, so what happened to his 20s?
He was on the Expos.
Fuck.
So he was on the Expos from 88 to 90. Bobby, he was an All-Star in 1990 for the Mariners.
When was his last season?
2009. He played until he was 45. He pitched until he was 45. He pitched for 22 years. Isn't that crazy?
That's like Nolan Ryan status. Like, yeah, I mean, not obviously all the way, but damn near. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna see a dude do that and go that long. I think the only reason he could is because he was so long that he just didn't really have to throw hard because it was just the way it's built.
So the year prior to that, he actually had shoulder surgery or Tommy John, one of the two on his left arm in 1996. But in 1995, he had one of the best years in the history of baseball. He went 18-2 with a sub-3 ERA, 214 innings pitched with 294 strikeouts.
In 95 in the short season?
In 1995, yes. He had 294 strikeouts. If he averaged 33 starts a year, if he would have thrown 3 more starts with his average Ks per 9, he would have had over 300 strikeouts. But I want to share this with you too, because I forget how great Randy Johnson was. In his mid to late 30s, so in Arizona, these are 4 years in a row of seasons he pitched. 364, 347, 372, and 334 strikeouts. You'll never hear numbers like that ever again. Never.
What was his Ks per 9 in those seasons? Like what? Like, I mean, it's had to be like 14, 15 per 9.
I got you. 12.1, 12.6, 13.4, 11.6.
Good Lord.
Because he threw, here's innings pitched per year, 271, 249, 249, 260.
Oh, that's why. He was literally getting used every 3 days, every 3-4 days.
He was pitching every 5 days. Right. Well, he's pitching every 5 days, but he threw 7 innings. That's right. You go 30 starts at 270 innings. That's 7 1/3 innings, basically.
Yeah. So he was quality starts every time. No question.
Unbelievable career by Randy Johnson.
Wow.
I started when we're picking the rosters and I'm going through my numbers here and I'm like, I haven't looked at Randy Johnson's career numbers. I don't think ever. I knew about the strike shortened year where he had like crazy, he had a crazy year because in the books as if he would have had 34 starts like he normally would. He would have broken, the Nolan Ryan strikeout record and just a crazy roster. But Jamie Moore, third person in that rotation, closer, one of the nasty boys, Norm Charlton.
Here.
All right, hit me with your third roster here.
2010 Giants. Not going to waste any time with this one. This was Buster Posey's rookie season. For those playing along, I gravitate towards some very strong catching figures. Buster Posey being one of them. Definitely, obviously we had just graduated high school the year prior, and so we're all in our 20s, right about the time when these guys are hitting the league, and we're all about the same age. And this guy was one of the best catchers we've seen in our lifetime. And he's obviously had a great career. So. Okay, so we have Buster Posey. Benji Molina also caught a few games that season too, for the record.
Those damn Molina brothers.
Yeah, I mean, at least it wasn't Yachty. First base, you had Aubrey Huff. Second base, Freddie Sanchez. Shortstop, Juan Uribe. Third base, the Panda, Pablo Sandoval. Left field was split between Pat Burrell and Mark DeRosa.
Pat Burrell? Ooh, that's a name drop right there. Holy shit.
Center field was Aaron Rowan. And right field, Nate Shearholtz.
Aaron Rowan, too. Dude, those That outfield's nuts.
right?
Those are crazy name drops. Aaron Rowan was a monster for the White Sox. A monster.
Yeah. Well, the pitching staff kind of overshadows the lineup on this team, in my opinion.
It does.
I mean, led by Matt Cain, Tim Lincecum, Barry Zito, and Madison Bumgarner. Four just absolutely dominant pitchers.
What happened to Madison Bumgarner today?
Madison Bumgarner got released, designated for assignment by the Arizona Diamondbacks.
How much money does Arizona have to pay him?
Over $30 million. Just to let him go.
$3 million just to not have
just to say bye. Just to fuck off. Imagine being Madison Bumgarner. I get paid and I don't have to do shit. All right, I guess I should just retire now.
He's gonna go get that farm.
Yeah, he's gonna get that farm and do something great. And the starting rotation wasn't even really the highlight for this team during the season. The highlight of the team this season was Brian Wilson. That man came in. He had 48 saves that season. 48 saves. It's not anywhere close to Eric Gagne's, whatever it was, 60 or 70 in a row, but he touched it. He was on his way up there, man. And his setup man was Sergio Romo, by the way. So
yes, sir. That's what I was waiting for you to drop the Sergio Romo because he gets to retire as a Giant this year.
I don't know. What are you supposed to do with that? Like, you start off with prime Tim Lincecum, and then you have to deal with Sergio Romo, and then you have to deal with Brian Wilson, who was almost touching 12 Ks per 9, and he's a closer.
It's crazy, dude.
What do you do with that?
Nothing, because there's such a speed variance when you go from Matt Cain and Lincecum, and even Bumgarner at that time. Bumgarner was in the mid-90s then. To Sergio Romo, who I don't know if he ever threw harder than 90 in his career. And then you fall back to Brian Wilson, who at that point in time was throwing one of the toughest splitters in the game. He's throwing 97 to 99 with a fastball and then a 90 to 94 splitter, which is completely unhittable. Brian Wilson was one of the angriest motherfuckers to ever play baseball.
Like, I just always like his like when he was like grinding that ball into the mid, you just saw his forearms just like the veins just bulging out. Like, yeah, he's not a guy that I'd want to step.
Nuts.
He's not a guy I'd want to piss off.
Like mentally insane.
Like if you hit a home run off of him, like the next time he sees you, whether it's 6 months down the road, you're getting hit by a pitch. Like that's just how it's gonna go.
Yes.
But no, this was a great team, man. Obviously
Carp's got it. Gotti. That's where that comes from. It comes from Brian Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, no, this was a fun one for me. 2010 Giants were awesome to watch. Yeah, that's what I got. A couple good name drops.
We did not like them in 2011, though.
We did not like them in 2011 when the aforementioned one of my guys that I like, Buster Posey, wrecked our labs.
Grand slam off of Matt Latos. I'll never forget that.
I remember exactly where I was sitting too. I was sitting downstairs.
Me too. I was in left center field. I was at the game.
Oh God! I had class that day. I couldn't go.
I skipped school to go watch that game because it was a 1 o'clock start time.
I'm glad I skipped it because I could not have been there to walk out of that stadium.
Sorry, Mom. I don't know if my parents knew that or not, but I skipped school that day. But I was paying for it by then. Who cares?
All right. Wrap us up and take us home, sir.
Dude, I went very recent here, and I'll give my logic why I picked this team. I picked the 2019 Washington Nationals, the national champion Washington Nationals. Lineup was Yan Gomes and Kurt Suzuki, split catchers, obviously in the 21st century of baseball. There's a lot of that. First baseman was Matt Adams. Second baseman, Brian Dozier, coming over from the Minnesota Twins to the Nationals to win a World Series. Shortstop is Trey Turner. This was Major League Baseball's kind of introduction to Trey Turner, actually. This was his first full season in the league. Third baseman, Anthony Rendon. Left fielder, 20-year-old Juan Soto. Center fielder, Victor Robles. And right fielder, Miami University graduate, Adam Eaton. Rotation, we all know the top three of this rotation: Strasburg, Corbin, Max Scherzer. Rounded out was Anibal Sanchez and then Eric Fetty. So the fun thing about the Nationals this year is they actually started the 2019 season in the bottom 3 in the National League. And they came back to win the World Series. They started with a losing record in the months of April and May, and then did not have a losing record for the rest of the year. Had to beat the Brewers in the wild card game, then had to beat the Dodgers in the divisional round, and the Dodgers were the favorite to win it all in 2019. Then beat the Cardinals in the championship series, and then go on to beat the Houston Astros in a very dramatic Game 7 finish, which I'm sure is all very fresh on everyone's mind.
They went through the gauntlet.
They went through the gauntlet, dude. They played, what's that? That's 7. They swept the Cardinals. That's 7. That's 11. They played the Dodgers in 5. That's 16. They played 17 playoff games.
That's insane.
That's damn near all of them.
That's a lot of work, especially that late in the year. And for a lot, I mean, this was a super young team at the time. Like before the season, like nobody knew who Juan Soto was. Everybody was wondering if Strasburg was going to be the guy anymore because he's already had he's 2 surgeries deep at this point.
He was 2 Tommy Johns by then, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was a team that that was not slated to like you said, do well. Like they were not picked to be great, and they started off the season showing the colors that everybody thought they were. And then Trey Turner obviously made a name for himself. So I mean, both of those guys are both making well over $200 million, on their contracts, and there's so much talent from that team, man.
Yeah, dude, it's insane.
Was Bryce Harper on that team yet?
Bryce Harper was on the Phillies by then.
Oh, he was. That was his first year in Philly.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. That's why Juan Soto played left field.
That's right.
And that's why they brought Adam Eaton over. Yeah. So the reason I picked this team is because this was the first time. This was the first team kind of in the new era of baseball where young talent met kind of the generational talent of the organization, that being like Howie Kendrick, Ryan Zimmerman, Gerardo Parra, those guys, and they put something together and they won. And it was really all based around offense. I mean, Scherzer missed, I think, 7 or 8 starts that year. Patrick Corbin, it's the best year of Patrick Corbin's career, and he's been on the complete down spiral since then. And then Steven Strasburg, it's the last fully healthy season that he had. Ooh. Here we go.
The only healthy seasons he's had.
So Max Scherzer is not appealing the 10-game suspension. He is accepting the 10-game suspension for Major League Baseball. No appeal.
Huh.
Interesting.
I wonder if that's because they don't want further investigation.
I don't know. Very, very interesting.
Well, okay. What are your initial thoughts? Just off rep.
So there's something that they know about that we don't know about. That's it. That's where my head goes. What are they covering? Why is he not
fighting it?
The suspension? Yeah. I don't like it. Something feels off.
This whole situation feels off. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that right now. I'm gonna have to circle back to this at a later date.
Yeah. All right, man. So I do want to talk about one more thing before we wrap up. This is more of maybe just a little vet session for your boy here. I've been seeing a lot of stuff, been hearing a lot of stuff lately from, this is probably for future listeners of this podcast, about parents in youth baseball, specifically competitive youth baseball. And I'll catch you up to speed here, Bobby. I've read a couple stories, seen a couple stories in the last week of parents putting older kids in younger teams to win tournaments.
I did see that. Yeah, I saw that they're making fun of it, saying I am 12 or whatever from like the bench warmers. Yeah, I saw that. I didn't actually read it though.
Yeah, so that's a very specific listener of our show who's in here very frequently that was impacted by that. And it impacted somebody else that I know. And I just want to share my piece on this because I think that we've officially hit the point in competitive baseball where it has become, for most, about the parent and not about the child anymore. And if that is the case, you need to excuse yourself and allow your son or daughter, if they're playing baseball, to make the decision if they actually want to do it or not. Because if you're doing that to them now, there's two things that are going to happen. Number one, they're never going to forget these moments, right? You are the most impactful moments for a kid playing a sport that they either like, love, whatever, are the ones that are negative, right? Those are the ones that stand out. The failures are the ones that stand out the most, or the ones that created issues are the ones that you are on the forefront of your brain. And parents are doing this on purpose. And then acting like for another organization to protest a team or to protest a player is completely out of pocket. That's insane. That's insane to think that it's okay to put a 13, the instances I've heard is a 12-year-old with a 9-year-old tournament and a 13-year-old. Yeah, and a 13 on those 4.
Carp makes a great point, man. He's like, when we were kids, like we wanted to play up. Like it wasn't, playing up is one thing. Playing down is a completely different animal. If you have the talent to play up, fucking go for it. Because that means you're a fucking badass and you're great.
That means you're right. And that's what I'm saying. We're at the point now in baseball, travel baseball, competitive baseball, whatever you want to call it, where this is becoming more about the parents. And it's a tragedy, dude. And I year over year, I've seen and heard, seen it, heard stories, talked to people that are in the sport still and at that level with kids at that age. And it's just becoming tainted with all these parents. And to win a tournament and winning an 11U tournament doesn't mean shit in the grand scheme of things. You are teaching the players on the team that cheating is acceptable, because that is cheating, that the integrity of the game it doesn't matter if you compromise the integrity of the game. It's all about winning. And when you're that young, winning – I'm not going to sit here and be a participation person, because that's not me. I'm a winner too, right? I like to win. I don't like the giving out a plaque just for saying.
I would rather lose than tie.
Right, but let these kids get their ass kicked if they're 11 and they can't beat other 11-year-old teams, then make them better. Make them better off the field. Teach them the character traits that are necessary to make them better athletes, and teach them the skills that they need to have on the field to win the game. Don't teach them how to cheat. This is the shit that happens to these kids now, that when they turn into adults, they try to, rather than finding the solution to the problem, they try to find the workaround to it to not have to deal with the situation, or to scam their way through the situation. That's what this behavior starts. And 11 to 14 is when you were impacted the most by the people that you respect the most. And I promise you that a kid loves and respects his coach almost as much as they fucking love or respect their dad or their mom or whomever is the parent role in their life. And if they see the coach doing that to win, they accept that. That's bullshit, dude. It fucking pisses me off. I think that these are the things that create poor character adults. And it sucks, because we're in the age range now where the parents and the coaches that are doing this shit are our age, right? So we're a part of, our generation is a part of the problem too. And I've always been very quick to say that, it's not us, right? It's not our generation, but we're part of the problem too. So my PSA to those that have kids that play sports, or kids that are going to play sports, be very mindful of what team you put your kid on, because these dads that are coaching teams now, they don't give a shit about making your kid a better baseball player. They care about what uniforms their team wears, so they can post it, so them or their wives or whatever can post it on social media, who they're beating in tournaments, and how many trophies they got. That's it. It's not about teaching character. It's not about teaching skill of the game. And I'm not saying that's everybody, right? There are a lot of parents out there, and there's a lot of coaches out there that
do it the right way.
The first thing you teach a baseball player is to respect the game, and then the game starts to respect you back, right? Because hard work in, hard work out, right? Baseball is one of the real sports where you can go into a sport and you can go into baseball and not know how to hit a baseball. And if you work hard at it, by the end of the year, you're going to know how to hit a baseball, right? You see the real gratification or the reward to the effort. And for parents and I'm not calling these guys coaches because these aren't coaches. These are parents that are doing this to kids. It's unacceptable. It's absolutely unacceptable.
No, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I appreciate for the most part that I had, great coaching coming up. I had my fair share of coaches that I was not a fan of. And, but this is just next level, man. Like this is just another level of, I mean, Pop said, I mean, it's unconscionable, for any parent, and it's worse than a
you're cheating. You're teaching kids to cheat.
You're teaching kids. Yeah. And you said you're basically the long and short of it is you're teaching kids to be pieces of shit as adults.
You're teaching them that it's if you want to win, sometimes it's okay to bend the rules. Yeah. And that's such a huge character flaw. It's such a huge character flaw to teach a young kid that. Yeah. You absolutely cannot do that. These kids are they're such big sponges when they're that age. And a lot of times they're figuring out this is the time frame for them where they're deciding if this is the sport they want to put more effort into. Right? The 11, because you're getting ready after this season, you're getting ready to get, into middle school or, you're at the end of elementary school or whatever. Right, well, you're trying to figure out what sports you want to play. Yeah. And if you're in a position as a kid where, hey, why is Billy's brother playing in this tournament? Oh, it's not a big deal. They said he could play with us, right? Because that's usually how it goes.
That's how they shape it.
Yeah. Oh, it's not a big deal. He's just he's just helping out because we're down a couple guys. He's going to pitch for us today. Or he's going to play out. He's just going to play outfield today. He's not going to pitch or anything. It's not a big deal. And then all of a sudden on Saturday, Billy's pitching. Right. And this is a 13 or 12 or 13-year-old kid pitching from 46 feet away. Right. That's close. You watch these kids in the Little League World Series that throw hard. It's damn near dangerous for some of these kids. And if an 11-year-old's facing a 13-year-old, because by 13 you have a better understanding of mechanics. If you're taught the mechanics of the game, you are probably throwing more than just fastballs, and you can throw hard. If you have the ability, you can throw hard. And to put an 11-year-old in a scenario too where you're putting them at risk for injury or more susceptible to injury. There's always risk in injury in sports, but more susceptible to injury because of this. Shame on you.
Yeah. No, it's I guess it would never make sense to me on why anybody would teach their kid to take the easy route.
Never. Never in a million years.
I don't know.
Especially it's easy I think it's a lot of times it's easy for people to say, well, I could do this, but it's going to take me a while. You go down the route, right? Where you're like, oh, I could do this thing now and it puts a Band-Aid on it, or I could do this thing now and it fixes it for the time being. But these kids, I'll say it over and over again. These kids are looking for guidance. They're looking for someone that they could look up to and respect and appreciate and learn from. And you're teaching them bad character traits, and it sucks. And you're setting. And for the parents too that are a part of the team, if they're allowing it, right? It sucks for it's bad on them too. If I'm in that scenario and I'm sitting in the stands and I see Tommy's brother Billy playing in the tournament, and like he's about to be in the 8th grade or he's in the 8th grade. There's no way he should be playing. I'm asking the coach what the fuck's going on. Oh yeah. Hey, why are we playing this kid? Because it's real easy for these kids, for a parent to go out. If they're short, if they got 9 and they need 10, it's real easy to go ask a kid from another team, hey, can this kid play on my team for the weekend? Good chance they say yes. So shame on the parents too for just allowing it. I think that's there's
more than one person at fault here. It's not just that coach. It's not just that coach or that team. It's everybody involved with it. So and even the kids that decided to play, maybe knowing what was going on, shame on them too. If they knew what was going on and were conscious of the situation. So Yeah,
Sucks,
man.
dude. Right,
It's
I don't want to end it on a shitty note, but I think it's something that I'm seeing it more. I'm seeing it happen more often now. And it used to be funny, right? Bench warmers made it funny,
They
and
did.
now,
They kind
but
of
now
called
it's
it out
happening,
though, but now it's happening.
right? But it's happening.
Yeah.
And I have a 2-year-old son, and I have nephews that are going to be playing baseball at with other kids, right? And kids pitching to them. And I would hate for them to be in a scenario like that where they're because of somebody's lack of character, putting them at risk to be injured by a kid that shouldn't even be out on the field.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely. I
promise
know. I know Carp can. I don't know if Carp was the one that was dealing with that, but I know Justin as well. He's got a little one that's starting to get into baseball, so I know he can definitely relate. Moral of the story: just be better. Be a better human.
Be better. Be a good human being.
It's not really that difficult to be a good person and be an honest person. Just fucking do it. On a high note here, though, we can kind of talk about, well, not really a high note, but we can dip into a little bit of NBA basketball last night. Rui Hachimura, what a beast! If anybody's watched that Lakers game, that kid can play.
He can ball.
Number one, number two, Dylan Brooks. I don't like him. I think he talks too much shit for his skill level. What did he say? He basically told LeBron, like, don't talk shit until you drop 40 on me.
Yeah.
I can't wait for tomorrow night.
Oh my God.
When LeBron comes out and drops 50 and they win by 20.
Yeah, on Saturday. Yeah.
Or Saturday, whatever it is.
Yeah, they play Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Look for LeBron to go out and try to score a fucking 100 on Dylan Brooks. He did that to him during the regular season, too, and LeBron went out and scored like 30 points in the second half.
Yeah, so you best believe I'll be watching that on Saturday.
For sure.
No, got some. Obviously, great show, man. Definitely enjoyed running through the little trip down nostalgia lane with the with all those name drops. That was fantastic. Obviously, a ton of baseball news. So if you missed the first part of the show, please make sure you tune in tomorrow on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, wherever you catch your what do you call that? Your radio podcast content. Make sure you flip it on tomorrow if you missed the first part. Todd, you got anything else?
The NFL draft.
Oh yeah, definitely need to plug that. So, next Thursday,
big show.
We got a pretty big show for you. Pretty big show.
Yeah. So, it'll be. It of course will not be Ring 'em Up as a baseball podcast. We'll be just running straight Rally Tal Sports, covering the NFL draft, having a few people stop in and talk with us about the draft. Probably having a few bevies talking about the draft. I promise that I've made a promise to myself and to the other members of the podcast that I will not drink 3/4 of a bottle of Weller this year.
We did get pretty shitty last year.
I do learn from my mistakes. That was an honest, unintentional mistake. That
I love you, Bruce.
caused me a lot of hurt and pain for most of the weekend after. But no, it'll be good, man. I love the NFL. If they've done anything really well in the last couple of years, is breaking up the draft into 3 days. I think that's one of the best things that they could have done. Not rushing through it.
Do the first round. Day 1, second round, day 2, and then the rest. The first round is it 1 and 2 the first night, and then 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, or is it's round 1 and then 2 and 3 and then 4, 5 and 6?
Yeah, so it's round one on Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 on Friday, and then rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday. So that way, by Saturday, you get to spend time with the family, and it's just kind of you're not dialed in on every single pick for the Steelers or the Bengals or the Browns or whatever. You're just
you're not staying up until the ass crack of dawn.
No, you right. Well, dude. I mean, by the time you get done with the first round of the draft on Thursday, it's midnight, right?
Yeah.
So you're sacrificing 4 hours of your evening to watch the draft. But no, we're gonna have some good stuff planned for you guys next Thursday. And then we will jump back into the normal routine after next week. We'll be back Wednesday and Thursday again. But
Absolutely.
is that a podcast?
I think that's a show, sir.
All right. Let's get it. All right. Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm Todd. This is birthday boy Bobby. This way. This is birthday boy Bobby. Love you, brother.
Love you. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night, and we will see you guys next week for the draft.
Peace.